if too much agency is sort of given to the non-human animal, whatever system that may be, then humans sort of end up off the hook. Like we sort of get out of, it's like our get out of jail free card somehow, because if everything gets equalized, then somehow we're not responsible, and that's obviously not the case, and we are. And also, I think the alliances have to be not just with the non-human animals, but with other human animals that sort of are the ones that consistently get screwed. Basically, those that don't have economic agency. This is going back to the problem of capitalism, I think.
Yeah, you're making me think that the idea of agency in terms of alliances also kind of decenters state-led leadership in terms of the political system at large, which we won't get into right now. But Elite, this goes back to so long ago. You want to go down that rabbit hole. But I just remember, Elite, we watched a video by a philosopher once in which, and I can't remember the name of the philosopher, but he was discussing the idea of how we're reliant upon our politicians, where originally that wasn't the case. The idea of the Senate or the town hall, or that sort of structure had to do with people actually actively contributing and actively taking, as you say, Diane, responsibility, really, rather than say, okay, I'm just going to vote for this particular person and my needs and wants will be met. So this ties into not just capitalism, but also the sort of institutions of just statehood in general and politics, which is, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but I think you have to have something like it. I don't know. It is a rabbit hole. But I feel like there's got to be something like a state, but not necessarily defined as it is currently, because to deal with scale, you need sort of a system that can deal with abstraction. And I don't know what, it can't be down to the individual, because
this goes back to ancient Rome and the kind of issue of, the Nero syndrome, where you've got, a Senate, and then you've got, the emperor, and so I just think that, and I agree. So basically I agree with you, of course. And alliances really has to do with also the kind of abstraction of how to actually maneuver an alliance. But I don't know, lately it just seems, at least in terms of politics lately, there's just a lot being sort of put into the Nero kind of model rather than the Senate. And the Senate actually, in terms of the states at least, is no model right now to go by. But yes, agreed.
And I think that's what's tricky about the protocols, is because we're trying to it's like we're trying to map out something that doesn't exist, that like in terms of, you were talking about, do we repair the planet? Do we rewild certain areas? Do we, I think also the terraforming implies that there's like other conditions, like new conditions that are more synthetic, that are more of these kind of mixes that we haven't seen before, that haven't operated together before. So it's like, so yeah, like in terms of that goes also for governments, or that both have to work at a planetary scale, because otherwise you just not having enough impetus to make any kind of changes, but also does have to work at the individual scale too, is the problem with it, because it's a person by person enterprise.
Yeah, and I think that's
transition.
To like build on what you're saying, Elite, like I think that's what I found really interesting as the protocols, as an exercise for us to think about how with technology, we have the opportunity, right? This idea that like we can be networked at a scale that we haven't been, right? So then how can we then use, in a way, it's like I'm going to tie in 2 points. It's like not only as an exercise to how we can oscillate between the local to more of planetary networks, but also what does the art world do, right? Like why have this conversation within the art world? Mm-hmm. And I think, and that's something that was fundamental for us from the beginning, right? Which is this idea that like within the art world, we have this play where we can talk about things that feel so wildly beyond our control, right? Like a political system like the Senate. You know, it's like, who doesn't experience political apathy? You know, I have no idea, like it's beyond my control. Even like the idea of climate change is so beyond my ability to reason and understand that I can actually, besides recycling, what can I really do? And I think the art world gives us this like platform in where we can speculate, where we can draw from something very real and have the ability to imagine it differently.